Harsh, yet simultaneously a mighty and profoundly resilient champion, the founder of a potent lineage entangled with complex networks of treachery. Can a lion truly establish a lasting legacy? Countless adversaries, some concealed in the darkness, others in close proximity to His Majesty, but his determination remains unshaken. Ultimately, all submit before the ruler, Sekakama. You are on the verge of immersing yourself in the tale of an animal dynasty governed by the imposing lion, Sekakama. National Geographic has produced a 4-season documentary detailing the life of this lion, titled Savage Kingdom. Prepare yourself, tap that like button, and let's commence this expedition. In 2014, within the untamed expanse of Suvir Marsh in southern Africa, situated in the nation of Botswana, lies a vast and secluded wilderness. This territory encompasses both the Kalahari Desert and the Okavango Delta. Until Sekakama emerged, this region had no globally recognized history concerning its wildlife. The Okavango Delta area boasts an extensive river stretching across many kilometers, providing sustenance for all life within its vicinity. However, during a particular season, harsh drought wreaks havoc, compelling animals to adapt extensively to endure the challenges. Towards the south, at the river's endpoint, a sprawling marshland takes shape, teeming with a diverse array of herbivores. And it was here that Sekakama rose to power as the king. Sekakama and his brother Torn Nose embarked on a quest to find a pride to claim as their own, yet Torn Nose understood he could not defy his brother's violent tendencies, choosing instead to remain subservient. Originating from the desert, upon entering the Okavango Delta region, Sekakama and Torn Nose surveyed the area and discovered 2 established prides, one smaller and the other larger. They first ousted the smaller pride, which, despite its size, held dominion over the Northern Territory due to the mightiest lion's dominance in the region. In a matter of weeks, 2 lionesses entered estrus, Sato and her sister. Sekakama mated with both, but he forbade his brother from approaching Sato, reserving her solely for himself. Only the younger sister was granted to Torn Nose. Nevertheless, Sekakama's dissatisfaction lingered. He yearned for a more formidable female to be his queen. While Sato reigned as the queen of the north, she lacked sufficient power in Sekakama's discerning eyes. This realization led him to the other pride, where a lioness intrigued him far more. With more members and a greater number of females, the leader of that pride was weak, rendering him an easy target. The lioness who captured Sekakama's attention was Matsum, sturdy, imposing, and an ideal match for him. Sekakama's desire for her became all-encompassing, driving him to take an unprecedented step. He ousted the king of Matsum, eradicated the offspring of that pride, and appointed Matsum as his queen. Instead of amalgamating the lionesses from the 2 conquered prides to fortify their collective strength, Sekakama opted to forsake Sato and her sister in the Northern Territory. Sekakama, accompanied by his brother and the newly acquired pride, journeyed southward to the marshy region, under the assumption that they had left behind only 2 pregnant lionesses. Yet, unknown to Sekakama, he had unwittingly forged a formidable adversary in Sato. Locally hailed as Colossal, Sekakama stood as a large lion possessing a robust physique and immense strength. He, alongside his brother, held dominion over the southern expanse, with Torn Nose, his sibling, serving as a submissive subject to the king. Within this realm, the principles were straightforward: obey, face the king's wrath, or flee. The Sekakama pride was relatively large, with lionesses breeding and an equally powerful queen. Matsum was exclusive to the king, Sekakama, who could mate with all the lionesses, including his brother, but less frequently and only after the king, with the exception of Matsum, who could only be touched by Sekakama. The swamp region was dominated by hyenas, but now it had a leader, and he made sure that everyone bowed in his presence once they settled there. The hyenas tried to assert their dominance by attacking some newborn cubs, but now the swamp had a war commander. Sekakama single-handedly obliterated half of the hyena clan, firmly establishing his monarchy as one deserving of respect. This act garnered him more adversaries, but he considered them beneath his level. Sekakama remained unperturbed, as his strength far surpassed that of any hyena clan. This royal family possessed a unique distinction. During lioness hunts, cubs were taken to nearby locations to observe and learn. As the cubs matured, they were placed amidst herds of herbivores, ensuring that only the strongest and most cunning survived. Thus, the dynasty flourished, characterized by brute strength, ruthlessness, and expertise. As the saying goes, as life toughens, one's demeanor grows colder, and that transformation was precisely occurring within those cubs. By 2016, Sekakama's pride already comprised adolescent male lions. Among them were the three favored princes of their father, being the initial offspring of Sekakama and his queen, Matsum. Sekakama possessed a distinctive hunting approach, joining his lionesses to personally take down larger prey. He gathered the three princes and led them on a hunt, instilling in them the significance of the strength a king must wield. Upon their return, Sekakama observed that one of his male progeny, in the midst of hormonal tumult, was attempting to mate with his untouchable queen, Matsum. Nonetheless, this privilege was solely reserved for the king, and even his brother, Torn Nose, could only engage with another lioness after Sekakama's satisfaction with Matsum. Those who dared to encroach upon her would face dire consequences. Sekakama would not tolerate such audacious behavior. He pounced onto the young male's neck and snapped his spine, leaving an unequivocal message for the three princes. "You can hunt, you can stay here, but mating is forbidden, or I shall show no mercy." The king administered justice, impartial and unfeeling, recognizing only the supremacy of the dominant lion. The princes started harboring a simmering repression, one that could erupt at any moment. At times, Sekakama would vanish, concealing another family in secrecy. The king betrayed his queen, further enhancing his godlike aura. The mistress happened to be Matsum's sister, someone believed to have fled by all, yet Sekakama kept her hidden, engaging in a clandestine affair. On occasions, she arrived with cubs, and Sekakama, loyal to his offspring, would not leave them exposed. Unbeknownst to Sekakama, his conquest spread more enemies, as the increasing number of male cubs heightened the risk of a coup d'état against his rule. He decided it was time for his mistress and her cubs to integrate into the main pride. Upon her arrival, Matsum understood that acceptance was essential, lest she face her demise. The three princes seethed with envy. Sekakama devoted excessive time to the illegitimate cubs, who were merely a few weeks old. The embittered brothers endeavored to approach and eliminate the cubs vying for their father's attention, yet Sekakama emphasized that this litter was off-limits. A few swipes of his paw conveyed the wisdom of obedience. However, deep within, they could no longer bear the despotic reign of the king. The subsequent day brought forth a nomadic lion, and the princes swiftly engaged in battle, defeating him with precision. Sekakama's teachings were manifesting, yet they were also bolstering those who could evolve into his potential adversaries. His favored sons had now savored victory for the first time, having just emerged triumphant in their inaugural skirmish against a nomadic lion. This achievement bolstered their conviction that they stood on par with their father. However, time would unveil the fallacy of this belief, as no one could match the might of Sekakama. The swamp began to desiccate, a customary occurrence during that time of the year. Sekakama and his pride proceeded a bit further northward. Along the way, Queen Matsum fell behind and encountered a nomadic lion of much greater strength. She had a choice: submit or confront her demise. Her protector, Sekakama, was absent, yet a true king does not wander without his queen by his side. Recognizing her absence, Sekakama embarked on a mission to locate her. He swiftly returned to her rescue upon spotting another lion attempting to conquer his beloved Matsum. Enraged, Sekakama overpowered the rival lion on the spot, liberating his grateful mate. The pride settled upstream where a faint trickle of the river persisted. In the region, all the herbivores competed for the dwindling water source. Herbivores required water, and predators depended on the herbivores, everyone coexisting in the same territory, yet perpetually vigilant against possible assaults. The ambience was taut, but it was the sole method of survival in the face of the drought gripping the land. A bit further upstream, Sata and her sister bore witness to the return of the lion who had dethroned their king and left them behind, now leading a powerful and established pride. The cubs of these two lionesses had matured, bearing the lineage of Sekakama and his brother. However, Sato nursed a deep desire for vengeance. From a distance, she observed and trained her own cubs, plotting to reclaim the crown of the entire northern region in the imminent future. Sato nurtured an unrelenting fixation, the longing to possess Sekakama's head. The offspring of Sato and her sister were young, adept hunters who strongly resented the prospect of their territory being encroached upon by the southern lions. They attempted to approach Sekakama's pride while the king was engaged in hunting with his lionesses. However, Torn Nose and the three princes stood guard, driving Sato's cubs away. A total of 9 fled towards the source of the river, leaving their vindictive mother and her sister behind. Sato once again experienced the sting of abandonment. The river's depletion progressed, compelling Sekakama's pride to tolerate the proximity of Sato and her sister. Their focus remained primarily on hunting, as conserving energy became crucial due to the unrelenting drought. This period presented considerable challenges, and to compound the king's predicament, 2 nomadic male lions ventured into the territory now under his dominion. Sato and her sister were the first to spot these intruders, seeing a glimmer of hope. If the nomadic pair took interest in them, perhaps they could collaborate to overthrow Sekakama and reclaim the northern throne for Sato. They might protect them and offer the promise of descendants. However, the nomadic lion's attention gravitated towards the majestic queen, Matsum, and they advanced towards her. Yet Sekakama, the sovereign not only of her but of all, confronted the 2 males simultaneously, asserting that no one surpassed the king in power. He was an authentic colossal lion. Sato and her sister understood that rain was impending, and with plentiful water, Sekakama's pride would be prepared to eliminate them. Escaping closer to the river's source, they encountered yet another nomadic male lion along the way. Sato was acutely aware that she was growing old, and this might well be her final opportunity to wear the crown she longed for. Once again, she displayed submission to the nomadic lion, quickly garnering his trust within a matter of days. Over time, the 2 lionesses became pregnant, and Sato managed to achieve a fragment of her aspiration, to ascend once more. However, the father of her cubs proved unreliable, a nomadic lion unmoored from commitment, who abruptly embarked on another adventure. Upon his return, he ruthlessly ended the lives of some of their newly born offspring before disappearing once again. For the 3rd time, Sato felt the sting of abandonment, and her resentment towards Sekakama deepened, as he had catalyzed her downfall by dethroning her first and beloved king. Unbeknownst to Sato, the anger and frustration she harbored would contribute to eroding the equilibrium within Sekakama's pride. She and her sister crossed paths with 2 other lionesses who had been isolated by Sekakama due to their attempt to seize Matsum's position by attacking the queen. These 4 lionesses had suffered under Sekakama's rule, and united in their pledge for vengeance. The passing weeks witnessed the gradual erosion of control within Sekakama's realm. The 3 princes grew increasingly disenchanted with their dictatorial father's restraints. The lionesses entered their mating cycle, with the aroma of desire enveloping the young heirs to the throne, yet they were denied access to their harem. The eldest prince made advances towards a lioness and came close to succeeding. However, his endeavor was thwarted by Sekakama, who lunged at one of his favorite sons. In the ensuing scuffle, the young prince was wounded, but Sekakama also suffered injuries in the process. It was at this pivotal juncture that the 3 princes recognized a crucial truth: If the king could be wounded, then perhaps he could also be overthrown. The king, demonstrating an unexpected mercy, refrained from banishing his princes from his territory this time. However, the princes had ambitions that transcended their current domain. They yearned to seize their father's crown. It took Sekakama time to comprehend that the betrayal would originate from his own blood, ultimately leading him to expel his favored sons. These erstwhile 3 princes were now labeled as renegades. Setting forth in search of their own lionesses, the renegades discovered 4 lionesses bearing hearts burdened with sorrow. Sato recognized her youth was fading, yet she held the ability to transfer the crown to either of the 2 lionesses that Sekakama had cast aside. The renegades mated with all 4 lionesses, embracing their initial moments of ecstasy. Sato approached one of the younger lionesses, designating her as the heir to the crown. The 3 renegade sons of Sekakama established a fertile yet vengeful pride, their resolve solidifying against their father, as they aimed to permanently wrest his crown away. Perhaps it's for this reason they say that a manipulative woman is more dangerous than the devil himself. As of yet, the renegades remained unaware that, after the birth of their initial cubs, they would transform into pawns manipulated by the lionesses whose hearts Sekakama had shattered. These 3 renegade sons established their dominion close to the source of the river. Within their territory, there existed prey, water, and lionesses with whom they could mate without encountering their father's oppression. The situation appeared favorable for these young lions, yet the lionesses, spurred by the venomous Sato, held a fervent desire to dismantle Sekakama's rule. In this endeavor, his 3 sons presented the best chance of realization. As the rains returned, Sekakama guided his pride back towards the southern swamp. During the rainy season, the swamp became a haven for herbivore herds due to the temporary absence of crocodiles. Meanwhile, the newly established renegade pride moved northward, but the lionesses among them insisted on descending even further south into Sekakama's territory. The renegades resisted this notion, keenly aware of the challenges presented by confronting their formidable father. Despite being in estrus, the lionesses refrained from mating until the renegades journeyed several kilometers south. The message they conveyed was crystal clear: their affections were conditional upon the demise of their father. Fueled by a potent blend of lust and vengeance, the 3 young renegade lions ventured back to the swamp and mounted a challenge against the reigning king. However, none proved to be as mighty as Sekakama. Their lesson was swift and harsh, taught right from their initial encounter. Sekakama's dominance was absolute, a fact the renegades had to acknowledge as they suffered severe injuries and were compelled to retreat. The 3 renegades ultimately abandoned the idea of challenging their father, who hadn't known defeat in years. They established their dominion in the northern realm, engaging in intense clashes with their own lionesses to assert control. Now masters of their own territories, they governed while the lionesses submitted. Sekakama's pride swelled with lionesses and cubs, both male and female, among them a young lion who had entered puberty. This lion's distinctive feature, his apparent lack of tail, captured the attention of local guides. Whether it was a congenital condition or an outcome of an injury remained uncertain. This lion bore the name Sakoti and, at the moment, held a favored position in Sekakama's eyes as the sole prince of reproductive age within the realm. However, Sekakama was determined not to repeat past errors. The moment he noticed Sakoti's interest in the pride's lionesses, he took action, expelling Sakoti from the pride. Sakoti, seemingly inheriting his father's formidable physique, was adept in the art of hunting, learning directly from Sekakama himself. He made the pursuit of prey appear effortless, even when facing a formidable opponent like a buffalo. Banished from his pride, Sakoti stood before 2 choices. Standing at a crossroads, Sakoti contemplated 2 divergent paths: the vast expanse of desert dunes or the northern territories, each offering distinct possibilities. Should he choose the north, Sakoti would traverse the territory dominated by his older and more seasoned brothers, engaging in battles where he could easily fall victim due to his lack of experience. Yet, Sikoti was a reflection of his father, King Sekakama, possessing the same resilient spirit. Believing himself invincible, despite his novice status in confrontations with other dominant males, Sikoti's unwavering confidence would lead him to an unforeseen, triumphant destiny. Opting to journey north, Sikoti quickly realized that his elder brothers were engaged in a power struggle among themselves for leadership. While he possessed his father's strength, Sikoti also showcased greater intellect. He patiently bided his time until the three males were separate, then cunningly ambushed one of them while he hunted alone. Sikoti exhibited a unique trait. He harbored ambitions for both northern and southern territories. After subduing one of his northern siblings, he concealed himself within the dunes, carefully observing from a distance. This strategic vantage point allowed him to monitor events in the south and, with a brief walk, survey the activities of his brothers to the north. During this period, Sikoti spotted his older uncle, Torn Nose, distant from the pride, engaged in mating with a lioness. It was a perfect opportunity to test his mettle. Descending from the dunes, Sikoti engaged in a fierce battle with his uncle, leaving Torn Nose's countenance marred and disfigured. While refraining from delivering a lethal blow, Sikoti ensured his message was clear. Torn Nose managed to escape the confrontation. Subsequently, Sikoti pursued the lioness, though he allowed her to retreat, conveying a message that resonated. Sikoti aspired to be more than just a king of the north. He aimed to reign over both the north and the south. Facing the united renegade kings of the north alone was a formidable challenge that Sikoti knew he couldn't easily overcome. Hence, he adopted a patient approach, lurking within the dunes for months until three more of his brothers reached the suitable age for recruitment. During this interim, the lionesses of the north secretly visited him, enabling him to mate with them. To these lionesses, Sikoti symbolized their solitary hope for toppling Sekakama, a bold and astute contender. With the successful enlistment of the additional three brothers, Sikoti embarked northward, taking down his two elder renegade siblings, thereby securing his position as the king of the north. He solidified his dominion by challenging most of the cubs fathered by his brothers. However, the lionesses were under the influence of the vengeful and ambitious Sato. She orchestrated the demise of the cubs while coordinating their estrus cycles. This strategy diverted Sikoti's attention, granting Sato the chance to preserve some of the cubs from perishing. Sekakama received the message from his son, comprehending that the weight of advancing age was beginning to catch up with him. He abstained from leading his pride to the north, even during the arid season. Instead, he eked out survival from the few remaining water puddles in the parched ground. Sekakama recognized that venturing north where water still flowed might lead to his demise. At this juncture, a formidable adversary arose, and his name was Sikoti, the rival king worthy of Sekakama's respect. As of the last known update around mid-2021, both lions, Sekakama and Sikoti, maintained their positions as reigning rulers within their respective territories, one in the south and the other in the north. However, all signs seem to point towards Sikoti's eventual descent to the north during the rainy season, with intentions to overthrow his aging father. Youthful glory inevitably wanes, and even a magnificent lion like Sekakama succumbs to the effects of time and age. Eventually, it is he who yields to a mightier king. The passage of time exacts its toll. If you found this content engaging, please consider leaving a like, subscribing to our channel, and immersing yourself in our array of videos. We kindly ask you to share this content along with the other videos from our channel. Thank you for watching.